Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, males and females, or any other way of saying those two genders, Chelsea Club de Football are into the last 8 of the Champions League. Before we have reached the last 8 of the Premier League alone, we have reached the last 8 of Europe in its entirety. It's a Chelsea thing. Only Chelsea Football Club would be capable of such things as we overturn the deficit from the first leg against Borussia Dortmund, the German team who have won every single game since the turn of the World Cup in December, and Chelsea have rocked up and dispatched them from the Champions League knockout stages with ease, considering they were 1-0 down going into this leg. And to be fair, I think even in the first leg, Chelsea really were the better team over the two legs. I don't think that's deniable whatsoever. I think the first leg that they got their lucky break from our corner, Adeyemi just using his pace, a lack of structure at the back from Chelsea, and they scored their goal, fair play, they held on and they got their win in the first leg. But today we really showed the difference in class. Don't get me wrong, we are still shit. We have been shit for a number of months now, I think it's fair to say, but have we turned a corner? Has the Graham Potter era, Super Graham Potter, has the tide turned for Graham Potter as Chelsea manager this evening following that 1-0 win against Leeds on Saturday that I was at? Remains to be seen, but first and foremost, of course, one thing that cannot be taken away from Graham Potter is the fact that we did play absolutely brilliant football tonight, and we did dispatch Borussia Dortmund, who, to be fair, I think were quite poor over the span of the two legs, and despite the fact they had more possession in the first half in tonight's game, I do think Chelsea were more efficient in their play, which is something that you wouldn't really come to see from a Graham Potter team so far in his tenure at Chelsea, so it was really refreshing to see. And as you can see on screen there, that is what it means. Reece James, future captain material, one of our own. But yeah, what a performance from Chelsea, and courtesy of a winning goal from this man here, Kai Havertz. Sir Kai Havertz, the German prince, the silky German. He's just what we need, and he was just what we needed tonight. And look, don't get me wrong, we've all criticised him this season. We've all jumped on the Kai Havertz slander train this season and in years previous, because it's fair to say that in terms of his consistency levels in a Chelsea shirt, he hasn't really been outstanding in his Chelsea career since he's put on that blue shirt. But I think tonight, every single Chelsea fan can sit there and say that was a world-class performance from Kai Havertz. And that is the £72 million player that we signed from Bayer Leverkusen in the first place. The reason why we haven't got that every single week from Kai Havertz in the Chelsea shirt, I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. But the fact of the matter is we have got a player in there. And if we can get that out of Kai Havertz on a weekly basis, my God, we'll have some player. And obviously Graham Potter likes him. It's pretty well publicised that Graham Potter is a fan of this guy. And tonight he ran his socks off and was absolutely brilliant every time he got the ball. Scored the winning goal, and of course the thing with the penalty, to miss the first penalty and hit the post, especially when you have the whole Chelsea fan base up your arse for the last however long, and to then have the balls of steel to say, you know what, I'm taking this retake, and to do the exact same thing and slot it and pass it into the corner after a stutter in his run-up, just shows what this guy's about. He has got that big game DNA inside of his very veins, my friends. He's shown that in his time, the Champions League winning goal, that Club World Cup final winning goal, and just in games in general, he does have that big game DNA. He steps up in those big games, Kai Havertz. He's shown that on countless occasions for this football club, and once again tonight was no different. He deserves his flowers tonight, Kai Havertz. He really, really was absolutely sensational, and hopefully now that can be a little bit of momentum for him in particular, as well as the team, for getting him on the right track in terms of his performances for this football club, because if he plays like that every week or most weeks, we will have ourselves one hell of a player, like I said. And if we just look at the stats, I mean, 1.97 expected goals to 0.94 expected goals for Borussia Dortmund. They did have more possession, 61% of the ball to our 39%, which, if I'm correct in saying, I think is probably one of, if not the lowest by a mile, possession stats recorded under Graham Potter. But it just goes to show, 13 shots each, 4 on target each. I think we were efficient in our play today. I really do think so. And it just goes to show, I think, in a tenure under Graham Potter and in a phase for Chelsea in recent months, even under Tuchel at the back end, where it was just all possession and absolutely no bite, I think today was a really refreshing change to that, where we didn't have most of the ball, but my God, we made the most of the chances we had with the ball and created a lot of big chances. And if we just go through the 11 players that started the game today, we'll go through it, position by position. Kepa in goal, I thought was very solid. I thought made some very good saves. There was a save he made in the first half from a free kick from Marco Reus, which was top corner bound. And you know what? Kepa is actually starting to convince a certain portion of Chelsea fans that he's actually capable of being a reliable goalkeeper over the course of a Premier League season, because he's not put a foot wrong really this season. He's made some very good saves in key moments. He's obviously good with the ball at his feet. Is he great with the ball at his feet? Maybe not, but he has actually been very reliable for us this season. I think he has the highest save percentage ratio in the Premier League this season. So it actually remains to be seen whether we get a goalkeeper in the summer, or if Kepa's going to be, stuck with next season. Then the back three, I mean, they might as well just have put a brick wall there instead of that back three, to be fair. I mean, without Thiago Silva and Benoit Badiashile as well, who literally 3 or 4 weeks ago, if not less, we were saying is our nailed on centre-back partnership for the next year or two until Thiago Silva eventually, wears off. But I thought Wes Fofana really getting into a bit of momentum now after recovering from his injuries at long last. Hopefully to God he stays fit, because I really do believe that Fofana could become a fan's favourite with the fans. He really has been putting in some great performances. Was man of the match in my opinion against Leeds on Saturday. Koulibaly. Now I want to talk about Koulibaly because he has almost been written off by Chelsea fans ever since he, started having a few bad games here and there at the start of the season or whatever, and he's been really solid recently, and as you can see there, his rating on SofaScore shows that, because I thought he was absolutely solid today, Koulibaly, in that central centre-back role. Marc Cucurella, who got man of the match off the club, and to be honest, deservedly so. I thought he was absolutely brilliant today. Not only did we see him pass the ball forward on multiple occasions, he actually barely went backwards, and you know what? It wasn't like he was just passing forwards for the sake of passing forwards. He was actually making things happen, and I was absolutely delighted for him, because, to get man of the match, I think was probably deserved. I mean, in my opinion, I think Havertz probably should have got it on the swing of things, but I think Cucurella, you cannot deny he had an absolutely top-class game. And I'll admit it, I have criticised Cucurella on a number of occasions this season, and I think rightfully so, because he has been poor this season, even though he's dealing with, personal problems or whatever, which I can definitely empathise with. But that is not the first time we've seen a game this season where Cucurella just has stepped in and played very, very well. I can think of 2 or 3 games at the very least this season where he's had really good games, which just shows that we cannot give up on this guy, because there is definitely a player in there, and hopefully he's another one of those players like Havertz that uses this game as a bit of leverage for a good run of form now to cement his place in the team and really get some good performances out of him, like we've seen in a Chelsea shirt for, as I said, 2 or 3 occasions, and as we saw, of course, all of last season with Brighton, where he was absolutely phenomenal. Reece James, I thought, was a quiet game for him, for his standards, and that says something, because he set his standards so high. He is the best right back in the world in my opinion, and in that right back, wing back role, you really do get the best out of him in terms of the fact he's given way more license to go forward. Enzo Fernandez, we have got ourselves an absolute generational baller in that team. Enzo Fernandez is just absolutely brilliant, and he offers us that one element that we haven't had since, I would say, Cesc Fabregas left the club, which is just being able to keep the ball but also being efficient in using the ball and having the ball at your feet. And that's not a dig at Jorginho, because I really do like Jorginho and I think he was very useful in certain occasions, but I just think Enzo Fernandez is an upgrade on Jorginho in literally every single department, I cannot lie. And I think this guy next to, if we get a proper holding midfielder next to him who can take a little bit of the burden off him defensively, I think we're really going to see, we're really going to reap the benefits and squeeze the juice out of Enzo Fernandez in that midfield pivot, because once again tonight he showed his class and he's just so effective at the small things, and that's really one thing I like about Enzo Fernandez. I think Kovacic was a little bit shaky. He did grow into the game, I will give him that. I think second half he was very good, getting back to his usual, dribbling and beating his man in midfield and taking his man on and, progressing the ball and driving the ball into the final third. Ben Chilwell, once again, I just thought Ben Chilwell was absolutely brilliant. I thought he, made that left hand side his own. The thing I like about Ben Chilwell is he's just a natural athlete. Not only is he actually technically quite good as well, he is able to get up and down that left hand side, which perfectly suits that left wing back role. I thought he was very good against Leeds on Saturday as well, and if it wasn't for Wes Fofana, in my opinion, probably would have been Chelsea's man of the match in my opinion on Saturday. And I'm really happy for Ben Chilwell, because not only is he a likeable guy, but he's shown in his Chelsea career he is a quality player, and to come back from an injury like he has and play this way in the last few games, I think is absolute kudos to him, and hopefully once again we keep getting that with Ben Chilwell. And I think I seen a fan on Twitter say it during the game, I think late on in the second half, it was never Cucurella or Ben Chilwell, it was Cucurella and Ben Chilwell, and we saw that tonight. They worked absolute wonders, the two of them down that left hand side, and were so good, the two of them. João Felix I thought was very good once again for his standards, did well in terms of dropping deep and beating his man in the middle of the park and getting the ball into the final third, which he does do so efficiently. Raheem Sterling I thought, to be honest, was actually quite poor and had an absolute nightmare in the first half, and I think his goal summed it up, because he takes a poor first touch, he completely swings at the ball, gets a bit lucky, and then absolutely fucking smashes it into the back of Borussia Dortmund's net. And we'll take it whatsoever if Raheem Sterling does play like that, but does get on the score sheet. And Raheem Sterling actually has played quite well recently as well. Maybe he's another one that's getting into a little bit of rhythm. I thought he was decent against Spurs, considering the fact that we were all absolutely horrendous against Spurs as a whole. I thought he was decent against Leeds as well, so hopefully we can get that little bit of click that we've been missing from Raheem Sterling this season in the Chelsea shirt. And then, of course, the big man, Kai Havertz, who I've got onto as well, who, in my opinion, was man of the match, and for good reason. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And once again, like Kai Havertz tends to do a lot in these big occasions, he scores the winning goal and steps up from the spot and delivers Chelsea a massive win in their season. But yeah, Chelsea fans, let me know how you're feeling in the comment section below. I am, for one, absolutely buzzing. It is a massive result in our season, and hopefully, fingers crossed, could be a turning point for Graham Potter in this absolutely dire run of form we've had over the last month or two, really. And it's the first time for as long as I can remember, really. It's the first time since Graham Potter was only in the door a few months that we've won back-to-back games, a massive win over Leeds. Yes, the performance wasn't overly thrilling, but I think tonight we really showed quality, showed we can play as a unit, and I think this 3-4-3 system could potentially be the way to go between now and the end of the season if Graham Potter wants to relieve a bit of pressure on his shoulders and get a few results together. And look, I've said it for time now, I think that I want to give Graham Potter time to see if he can get this run of results together and see how he can play when we get this run of results together, because we've seen so many times with countless teams this season, there's countless examples of teams that have gone on mad runs of form, and it's almost like a snowball effect, and hopefully that can be a snowball effect for Chelsea now in their season this season. 2 wins in a row now. We play Leicester away on Saturday. That would also be a massive win in creating that snowball effect for us in terms of results and performances overall. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on the video. That would be massively appreciated. It honestly means more than you guys could imagine. And also, if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be the most important thing, because we are looking to hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel as soon as we possibly can, and every single one of you that hits that subscribe button would be an absolute legend in helping me get there as soon as possible. And up the Chelsea, we move on to Leicester away on Saturday. We have the Champions League draw for the quarterfinals, I think next week if I'm not mistaken, but regardless, we'll be there, we'll still be Chelsea, and a massive win for Graham Potter's Blues tonight against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. And I'll see you later. Chat to you later.